Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of me, myself and I. This is episode number 4. We are live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And as you well know, A.C.E Podcast Nation, of course, you're home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. Give us a follow on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications to get all our shows first. And of course, if you prefer your podcast in audio format, we are now part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. That includes this series and all the other content and series produced by A.C.E Podcast Nation, from the short form interviews, any shorter videos, as well as all our podcast series, all available at the UK's first dedicated sports podcast network. You can find them at sport.social-social.co.uk. And just as we wait for the latecomers, for the stragglers, as you know, we're doing a charity Super 6 football prediction league this year. We're taking part, raising money for two great charities, which is Maggies Centres, should I say, and the Mind Mental Health charity. The last round was officially Ladies' Week, as Cheryl Benson topped the round on 14 points. Sue Coleman in a second, and with Al Fraser a third. In his first round, our very own Rodri Giggs shows that he knew his stuff, and he came fourth for the round. After a good round, Anne Gorham Adams sneaks into the final prize place with the overall table. And of course, now Rodri's joined us, and someone else as well. We're up to 92 players. So we have £550 prize money and a total of £816 to share between the two charities. So if you'd like to enter, help raise money for two amazing charities, contact Will Maluse. He'll be in the live chat, I'd imagine, but you can also drop him a message on Facebook. He'll add you to the groups, give you information, etc. Links to everything are below. So here we are. We're back again. Me, myself, and I. Just me, a camera, and you lot. So as ever, highly dependent on you guys sending in some questions and subjects for me to give an opinion on, discuss. I like to keep these short, these shows relatively, short and sharp, about 45 minutes. Got a bit of stuff to talk about though, which I want to talk about. I've got something to talk about which I experienced over the weekend with my son's football. I'll give that a couple of minutes, wait for a few others to join, and then we'll talk about that. But a very interesting week on the football front. VAR is a waste of time, officially. What is the point of it? Because I saw 2 stonewall penalties yesterday, probably 3 really, and VAR didn't give any of them. And I know people will say, well, 2 of them were for Man United, blah, 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 Ronaldo. But the West Ham one was just it should have been a penalty to West Ham. Ronaldo should have had 2 penalties. There was another, the Leicester's second goal, to be overruled. And, that's cost them that's cost them a point, because they would have drawn or gone on to win the game. The player's never in the eye line of the keeper for the second goal. I understand the first one, but the second one is a joke. So what's the point in VAR? That's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Just seems if you're not gonna use it and give the decisions that the referees got wrong or hasn't given at all, then what's the point? Really waste of time. And if you didn't learn from the Euros that bringing on players specifically to take penalties doesn't work, then Mark Noble has proved that right again. They brought him on to take the penalty. If I'm Declan Rice, I'm kind of standing there thinking, right, okay. So you don't really have much confidence in me, do you, that you're bringing on like a 37-year-old? I get he hasn't missed a penalty in 4 years or whatever, 60 games, I think it was, something stupid. But to go on with no stretching, no warm-up, no nothing, because he was not coming on until the penalty was given. He still had his bib on. He was sat on the bench. That's so much pressure. And, good save. Yeah, not a great penalty, but it's a poor decision from David Moyes, unfortunately, because West Ham have been flying. James Costy says Brighton are flying. Yeah, you're right there, James. They are. They're doing really well, playing some lovely stuff. Really pleased as well for Graham Alexander. They've stuck with him, and he's starting to produce the goods at the Premier League now, which is good. Harry Kewell being sacked by Barnet after just 7 games. Look, I won't pretend to be massively aware of how bad 7 winless games, so he's obviously not got off to a very good start. But so let's look. They've lost 5, drawn 2. But you've got to give managers time. Like, there was a reason they appointed Harry Kewell. There was something about his interview and that process that they thought he was the man to take Barnet forward. For whatever that was, whether it was his mentality, his experience, his career, was it a big name? Who knows? But like, whatever that reason was, 7 games is not enough to implement that and to build his team and to take the club forward as he's had a vision for it, whatever that vision was. And I just think people are too quick to pull. Some clubs are too quick to pull the trigger on managers. Other clubs too slow, and it causes an equally different problem. Cooper could be off to Forest. Yeah, I think that's probably a good fit as well. I think he'll do a good job at Forest. He's obviously a good coach. He brings in the right backroom team. Forest are a sleeping giant. Let's be honest. Like, if they get going and they get the right manager and everything in place, then of course they're a sleeping giant, massive club. And I know, and I'm very confident that when they get it right, I won't be surprised to see them up in the playoffs and whatnot. What else have we got? So yeah, Donna, let's talk a little bit about Cardiff. They were appalling again, because I didn't think they were very good against Coventry. They weren't particularly great against Bournemouth again. I don't think Mick McCarthy knows his best 11, but as I said a few weeks ago, Cardiff have not got a deep enough squad to rotate. They're relying on young footballers who are learning, and you can't expect consistency from those boys, unfortunately. If Cardiff finished top half, that's a good season with the business they've done and everything. They kept hold of Kiefer Moore. Unfortunately, probably being in the top half and not challenging for at least the playoffs is not probably going to be enough to keep Kiefer Moore next summer, which is obviously an issue if we do keep him in January. But we'll see. Cardiff were not good. I thought they were dreadful against Coventry, really bad. No width, no pace. It is frustrating to watch. What a goal, though. And Billing is an exceptional footballer. I really like him. But we're playing some good teams. Coventry are a form team. I think we discussed last week that Coventry, I think, could be an outsider for the playoffs. But Championship's hard, man. It's all the teams can beat you on their day. You've really got to be at it every single week. And Cardiff haven't been at it. Bournemouth, there's a reason why they're at the top of the table, because they're a very good football side, probably a Premier League side. And if you're not at it, they're going to beat you. Yes, it took one bit of quality to beat us, but ultimately we didn't deserve much from that game. Donna Perry says, hated it. Dylan Phillips was just kicking our play all the time. Craig Sullivan says, Billing was quality, though, and they should have take some credit. We are a top 10 team, but we're now playing top teams. Will says, luckily I was on an all day, so I missed it, but heard it was awful. Probably lose against West Brom and then you win against Reading. Well, you think that, Donna, but Reading were very, very good against Fulham on the weekend. So Reading, by no means, we have got a relatively good record against Reading in the league, but Reading played very well on the weekend. Shout out to Wayne Rooney, by the way. We talked about this on Friday because the news broke during the Rodri Giggs show on Friday. That Derby were going into administration, and it turns out that Wayne Rooney found out at the same time as us. So we found out during the live podcast. He found out at the same time when he was watching TV. For them to then go and beat Stoke on the weekend, he deserves a tremendous amount of credit for that. to be able to motivate those players because those players would have been distracted. Those players would have been down in the dumps. And they would have been worried and stressed about the situation. So to motivate them to beat a side like Stoke, I think, that's exceptional man management, whether you like him or you don't. One thing I did want to talk about, I text Rodri, or we were texting back and forth at half-time in the games, because Swansea were 3-0 down, and because we had jokingly guessed in our predictions it was going to be 6-0 to Luton. And I text Rodri and I said, it looks like the 6-0's on. 6-0's on. And there we go. Unfortunately, Swansea came back. If you're not a Swansea fan, they did very well to come back. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was the Henry Lansbury incident. I saw it on social media, and I saw a lot of Swansea fans not happy. They were like raging. There should have been a red card, etc. So for those of you who didn't see it, it's a free kick to Luton in their own half, and the player goes to take it quickly, and he goes to kick it up the field, and Henry Lansbury comes along and just taps the ball away, basically to waste time as he's about to take a free kick, and the defender follows through as if he was going to kick the ball, and he hoofs Henry Lansbury up into the air. Was it nasty and painful? Yeah, of course it was. Was it his own fault? Fucking right it was. It was his own fault. Could he have pulled out is the question. If you watch the sort of wider angle of it, he looks up as he's about to start his run-up to see the player he's aiming for, and then his eyes are only on the ball. And I saw some people saying, he would have seen his feet and he would have seen the ball move, and so he's looking at the ball, he would have seen that. But in my opinion, it's not his responsibility to pull out with that. Like, he's taking a free kick. If you're taking a free kick, you're not expecting someone to kick the ball away. So I think Henry Lansbury's got no one to blame but himself. Yes, probably a yellow card. In my opinion, probably a yellow card to both of them, and then get up and get on with it. But maybe if it was Cardiff player, maybe I'd be fuming as well, because it was, he hoofed him right up in the air. It's brutal, but it's his fault, isn't it, at the end of the day. Seems like we had a lot of people drinking over the weekend. Lorna was at a wedding. Reese, I know, was feeling it yesterday because he missed the MMA show with a hangover. Kelly says, I thought Cardiff were dire on Saturday, I have to be honest. Yeah, they were not good. Not good, as I said. Reese says, disappointing thing is Swansea are developing a style of play that is a good chance of playing off. Next season might be playing lovely stuff, whilst we're stuck with long ball, dire shit, and the likes of Kiefer Moore, etc., all be gone at that point. Yeah, look, it is a possibility, mate. Unfortunately, you say that about Swansea, mate. First half, Swansea were every bit as bad as what Cardiff were, and they were lucky it was only 3-0. But unfortunately, Luton couldn't take it on in the second half. Swansea did very well to come back. Any team coming back from 3-0 down, you've got to give them credit. It's a good performance. I was very surprised to see Peterborough pick up a win against Birmingham, because Birmingham have been very good this year. They've been a real form team. Peterborough always going to be up and down. We know that, because they're the yo-yo teams, aren't they? They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Ryan Giles injured. Yes, he is. Kelly, yeah, he's injured. Hopefully he's back, because he's the one player who's got a bit of pace, a bit of creativity, and look, at the moment looks good, because Donna says that he had COVID. He's just good. His delivery, everything about him is quality. Unfortunately, he's not going to be here for a long time. And unfortunately, the longer he's out, the worse we seem to look, because he's our one creative force. He's our width when he goes out wide and delivers those incredible crosses. And I saw a funny thing, actually, before the Coventry game. I saw an interview from the weekend before last weekend. So when Colwell scored 2, and Mick McCarthy said, the second goal was quality from Colwell, which rightly so, is a very, very well worked goal. But he said we don't have to always throw it long into the box. So then on Tuesday against Coventry, we refused to cross the ball into the box for like 80 minutes. We didn't take long throws. We kept going short and then losing the ball and Coventry would hit us on the break. And again, on the weekend, we just refused to put it in the box until it's too late, until we're down. Kiefer Moore needs it in the right areas if he's going to score goals for us, and we're not doing that at the moment. Ryan Giles seems to be the missing piece, but that's so much pressure on a lone player, a young player, to be like the guy, the one guy who's going to create something for us. It's poor. It's poor. Craig says he should be back Saturday. Fingers crossed, because, like I said, he's been a shining light. And look, I'm really happy to see all these young players getting a chance. I just wish there was some experience within the squad. Like, just our squad was a bit deeper, because I do think it's a problem at the moment. We're just not deep enough, and it's going to could be an issue, shall we say? So look, what other comments and questions we have. So look, Donna says, have you seen how Ryan Wintle is the star at Blackpool? I don't understand why we loaned him out. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, because I'd understand if we had a massive squad, but as I've said, we haven't got a massive squad. So loaning out a player to another championship team, and maybe he wouldn't be a starter for us, but he'd be an option. It's just, I understand that, like, you're giving him game time. He's going to play more for Blackpool. He's going to perhaps play week in, week out, and he wouldn't be there. Rob Boyle says he's got 3 days left of his Facebook ban. Do tell us what you've done this time, Rob. You seem to be banned from Facebook constantly. But yeah, it's a strange one. So yeah, on the weekend, got my Starbucks coffee. On the weekend, I went to watch my son play football, as usual. Been going to watch my boys play football for 11 years now, from the older one down. Under 13s, playing in Lanishon. Game kicked off, 9 o'clock, quite physical, first 5 minutes. Our team was 2-0 down. It's physical, but it was nothing too bad, just a physical game. And the kids were a bit down because their heads dropped a little bit because they were 2-0 down. By about the 20-minute mark, our boys had got it back to 2-2, which was similar to the week before. We'd come back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. And my boys scored 2 that week. But this weekend, we were back to 2-2 about 20 minutes in. As soon as we got back to 2-2, the physicality and the physical challenge turned to really nasty, aggressive fouls. And there was a particular instance, there was a lot of pushing as the ball was in the air and kicks off the ball and things, which the referee was not going to be able to see. And the ball went through to our keeper. He slid down, picked it up, and their striker just jumped up in the air and just 2-footed the keeper. Needless, never going to get a touch on the ball. It was dangerous. If he'd made proper contact, he could have done serious damage to the goalkeeper. But the referees, and because it's often coaches refereeing, so it was one of our coaches was refereeing, and they've been instructed by the FA that don't send players off to calm things down, get the coaches to take them off for a few minutes and have a word with them, blah, blah. But unfortunately, the coaches and the parents of the other team, which I'm not going to name the teams because that's not fair, but because they are kids at the end of the day, but the parents and the coaches of the other teams were encouraging these tackles. And the more we started to play football and we started to get it back in, really get some chances and stuff, they became more aggressive, egged on by the parents. But every time the referee would blow for a decision, offside, free kick, whatever, their coach would they'd have to stop the game because their coach was having to go at the referee, and the referee was out like saying, "Come on, get on with it," blah blah. So it got to half time. It was tetchy. Then straight after half time, these tackles are flying in. They did score a couple of goals, so it was 4-2 to them. But at this point, it was really getting quite nasty. These boys from their team, there was fouls going in. Our captain came off because he had been stamped on. He had stud marks all up his back. And he just said, "I've had enough." He came off. So now the parents on our side are not happy because these things are happening. And at any point, to be very clear, at any point, their coach, their parents could have told their boys to calm down, to stop, play football, play the right way, blah, blah, all the stuff they could have done. They could have de-escalated it. They could have said, if you don't calm down, you're coming off. They didn't. They riled it up. They were encouraging it. And these tackles kept going on. There was fouls. And in this time, every 5 minutes, their coach is stopping it because he's arguing with the referee about every little decision, throw-ins, offsides, free kicks. The referee's getting frustrated because he's getting sworn at and shouted at and all this stuff. So our coach said, right, if this carries on, these tackles carry on, the shouting, the swearing and everything carries on, you can keep your 3 points and we're taking it off. It's ridiculous. It's kids football. Yes, it's league for 3 points, but come on. These kids just want to play football. And it got to a point where this coach was stopping the game so much with his behaviour that even some of the boys on the other team were telling the coaches and the parents, shut up, we just let us get on with playing football. They were frustrated with it being stopped all the time. And these tackles came and they were going. And then one of our boys had the ball and he dribbled around the guy and this guy just kicked him, just swiped his legs from underneath him. He went flying up into the air. And there you go. That was it. The parents on our side were outraged. The coach said, right, keep your 3 points. We're done. Pulled our boys off because he was worried that someone's going to get their leg broken or there was going to be a serious injury. And, it's not worth it. It's just not worth one of those kids having like a broken leg or a broken arm or something over like a football match. Of course, they want to play. They want to win. I felt so sorry for the kids because they just want to play football on a Saturday morning. They just want to play football. I was not happy. I've talked about like some of the issues that my own children have got and stuff with whatever before. And I was not happy because my son was playing. He'd just come back on and he was going to be playing on the wing on their side. So I was going to have to go over to make sure he was all right while they were all shouting and swearing and being really loud and aggressive like adults, not kids, adults. So I was going to go over there and have to sort of walk and stand by there and just watch him play from that side. And I was not very confident that I was going to be able to keep my mouth shut, shall we say. But luckily, when just after he came on, not luckily, but just after he came on, the game was abandoned. We left. What I will say is our coach dealt with it perfectly. Because he could have got involved in the arguing back and forth, but he was clear, concise, and all he cared about was the children. He cared about them playing football, he cared about their safety, and he cared about them being subjected to swearing and shouting. And I'm not naive. Like, I know 12, 13, these kids are swearing and stuff with their mates, but it's very different to these kids swearing at each other and within their groups to grown adult men screaming and shouting aggressively. That's an intimidating situation for anyone, let alone 12, 13-year-olds. Our coach dealt with it beautifully. I believe he's going to report it to the league. In my opinion, he should report it to the league. He should report the team, report the managers, and he should make a complaint about there's two particular players from their side. I said to him actually this morning, I said, in my opinion, I feel like if our referee had sent the boy off when he did a 2-footed tackle on the keeper in the first half, that could have de-escalated it, because that would have sort of shown, right, we're not here to do that. We're not going to take this sort of madness. But there's two things. One, it might have just escalated them quicker. Two, they've been instructed by the league to keep their cards in their pockets, not to send kids off, etc., etc. I don't believe that's the way to go about it. I believe that they're playing league football, they're playing offsides, they're foul throws, everything which comes with it. The tackle which he did on the keeper is something that you see in the Premier League and they get a red card for it. So in my opinion, he's copied that style of tackling from TV. So he should have the same punishment, in my opinion. But yeah, that was my weekend. I was disappointed for the kids. I was not happy. I left pretty sharpish because I didn't want to get involved in it because it was with my son. But embarrassing that grown adults will behave in that way. That will not only not put a stop to the bad behaviour from their team players, but also behave in such a way themselves. I think is poor. I think it's disgraceful. And I know when I was like a teenager playing football, if my dad had behaved like that, I'd have been so embarrassed. So embarrassed. I've been watching football, Parks football, for 11 years with my boys. But even before that, I used to watch it. And I've never been involved in a game that was abandoned for bad behaviour and stuff. Yeah, the away game will be interesting as well, I'll say. Let's have a look. Rob Boyle says, I understand they've been instructed to keep cards in pockets, but surely a red card should come out a few times. Yeah, look, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you're dealing with kids, so there's like a fine line. To me, you should give out cards if it's extreme circumstances. To me, there would be two instances. You give out a red card for fighting. You give out a red card for like a tackle like they did on the keeper, which has got no intention of playing the ball, is really aggressive, could really hurt someone. They're the two instances I'd give a red. And then yellow cards would be mouthing off to the ref, mainly. If they don't stop when they're told to stop and they keep going, then you give them a yellow as a warning because they're kids. Other than that, I think, yeah, leave the cards away. But yes, Hugh, Nicholas, you're right. Instead of the red, he should have made him substitute him. It was suggested, shall I say. They politely declined. They also offered to go to the car park, which we found out afterwards to the referee, because our coach said if he had known that at the time, he would have brought him off at that point. Because, you know, pathetic, isn't it? Like, come on. Like, it is just pathetic. Reese says, something similar happened when we were kids. Remember, Reese's mum? She said, started on the pitch with a fight. Then the parents started fighting and the police had to get involved and the kids were like, 10-year-olds. It's embarrassing. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an angel. I've been involved when I was younger, in scuffles in various situations. Used to, particularly in my sort of late teens, early 20s, I was scuffling often. But not kids' football. It's embarrassing. It reminded me of, I think, it's Football Factory. I think, and it's Tamer Hassan and someone else. And they're kids' football, and they're like opposing football hooligans, and they're watching their sons play football, and they start mouthing off to each other across the pitch, and eventually it escalates to them rolling around on the floor fighting, Tamer Hassan and the other guy, and the kids and the referee go, oh, come on boys, this is stupid, and the kids all walk off, and the two dads are like fighting on the floor. It's what it reminded me of. It was just pathetic, and I hope that they get the book thrown at them. If it was up to me, I would give the 3 points to our team as a warning, because apparently they've got form for it already this season. There's only been 3 games. And we've heard since that they've done it to another team. So it needs to be nipped in the bud. And I think the only way you can nip that sort of behaviour in the bud is by the league taking a really strong stance. So to me, don't replay that game. You give 3 points to the team. The problem is that we were losing at the point of abandonment, but you've got to send a strong message. Whatever the punishment is, it's got to be strong, and it's got to be that there's no, it's not acceptable. You won't get away with it. It has to be a hard line punishment to the football club. But we'll see if that occurs. I don't know if it will. To be honest, the Welsh FA don't fill me with confidence. But obviously, we've got to play them away. May have to replay that game as well. Those kids are not gonna be looking forward to that. And I have to be clear. I know I haven't named the teams and stuff, but it wasn't all their boys. There was a lot of boys on their team who just wanted to play football, and they weren't getting involved in the stupidity and the aggression and the talking and the nasty tackles and stuff. Don't mind physical tackles. I enjoy that. My son enjoys the physicality of it, but there's physical and there's just outright trying to. Kelly says there, sounds like they were bullies, and I don't like bullies. And that's what it comes down to. The parents, the coaches, trying to bully the ref, trying to influence the ref, trying to make him bend to their will over a kid's football match. And then they're encouraging the kids to go about and tackle the way they were. No problem encouraging the kids to get stuck in. Go on, go and get that ball. Go and get stuck in. Go and win it hard. Don't pull out, blah, blah, blah. All of that. I love that. I do that. But if my son put in a bad tackle, I'm the first one to tell him, no, that's bang out of order. You say sorry and you don't do it again. And if you do, you'll be off. I'll take you off. Never mind your coach. So, and they could have done that at any point and it would have stopped. They didn't. They escalated the situation. Reece says, fair play to controlling yourself. So I don't have kids myself, but if someone thinks of laying a hand on them, ready to roll. Yeah, it's hard. I like this week. My son didn't. He got a couple of kicks, but he wasn't on the receiving end of any of the really bad stuff. They tried to foul him a couple of times, but he kind of avoided it. The week before, he had been really badly fouled, and I wasn't happy. But yeah, fouls are part and parcel of the game. Like the one the week before, it was so late. I was a bit pissed off about it. But also, it wasn't like a nasty late. It was the boy was knackered because he'd had a very long day. My son had a good game. He'd scored a couple of goals. He'd been up and down the wing, and he'd kind of beaten this guy a few times. And the boy, I think, was just tired, and he was late, and it was a bad tackle. He kind of said sorry, and that was it. But you don't mind that. What you don't like is the aggression and trying to hurt people. Those stud marks on the captain's back was disgraceful. Disgraceful. That's from a stamp. That is. That's not from a tackle within the game, if you like. It's not happy. Rob Boyle says, you all seen that young Bex? He's going to Romeo. Is it Romeo? He's going to make his debut in Fort Lauderdale in the US. That'll be interesting to see how he is. I've heard one of his sons is supposed to be really good. Donna Perry says, I'm the same. I'm lucky with the girls, man. I can't get near to defend them. As being twins, they've got each other's back. Yeah, well, there's two of them, isn't there? They outnumber them. No one will mess with them. But it's one of the reasons why it's like an ongoing, and anyone who watches the MMA shows probably knows this about it anyway. It's like an ongoing conversation between myself and my wife. I'd like my boys to go up to Shore MMA and do some grappling and some MMA and some self-defense. My wife is not keen. She thinks it'll encourage them to fight each other and people and kind of encourage them to go down that route, as opposed to I want to install a bit more discipline and do it that and the martial arts side of it. But it's an ongoing conversation, and I'm sure like the older one now is 16, so he'll make his own decisions soon enough, and he'll pay for it himself as well. So if you have got any questions, send them in, and I'll be happy to answer them, because we are going to be around 45 minutes this evening. What have we got coming up this week? Rodri Giggs live on Friday. It's going to be a good one. Just working on the logistics for Super Kev Unscripted, whether it's going to be the J Bothroyd part 2 one this week, or if it's just going to be a normal episode, or if it's going to be, because normally we do it every other week, so we might have a week off this week. The J Bothroyd one, by the way, been viewed over 10,000 times on all platforms and downloaded and stuff. Really gave us a nice bump on the channel, which was nice. But people really seem to enjoy the J Bothroyd show. So something that we said, me and Kev talked about after the show, was that once a month we're going to do Super Kev Unscripted teammates, and we'll try and bring in a teammate from Kev's footballing past to join us, just to relive the the good old days, and it might not always be Cardiff players. We might maybe like someone like Joe Riley might come on, or from Bolton or Aberdeen players, Scottish teammates. We'll see. I know, like I've had Gavin Ray on before, but Gavin lives in Australia, so it's a bit tricky with the time difference and whatnot. But if we can work something out, we'll certainly do that. Part 2. Craig, I saw that you had shared it around. I really, really appreciate that, mate. Really do. Because, the aim is to keep growing, and we have to find new viewers, new listeners, new fans, whatever you want to call them, as soon as possible. So, or the more the merrier, should I say. So we're obviously looking to build and to do it any way we can. And the best way to do that is always word of mouth. Restate with it. So it's great they have each other. I've always been talking about Donna's twins. When is part 2? So it's going to be, I think, on a Friday afternoon around sort of lunchtime. It's probably about 1 o'clock, 1 to 2 o'clock, something like that. Because the choice is either do that or do it at like 11 o'clock. We can't do it on 11 o'clock at night on a Friday because Jay has a match on a Saturday. So it is complex because obviously it is late, and I appreciate it's late for you guys. It's late for us. Kev's got to get up early the next day, so doing it in the week is problematic. We said it would do it as a one-off because we wanted to get Jay on, but if we can work it out for a Friday sort of lunchtime, 1ish, 2ish, I think that's the aim anyway. But it seems to have been well received, and loads of comments, loads of messages. People seem to enjoy it, and I think also Jay doesn't do a lot of podcasts and stuff, and those people, they always kind of make you it's more enjoyable again because you don't see those people doing that sort of stuff, which is always helpful, isn't it? Donna says she'll watch on the lunch break. Yeah, good plan. Gaz says, what's happening with Patreon? So Patreon obviously is the members only thing, which we're going to be launching soon. It's basically a way for you guys to support the channel and the content and everything. For just like the price of a cup of coffee per month will be the smallest tier, and like there's different tiers, but it's not just a case of you supporting us with a few quid each month. You get stuff in return. You get exclusive shows. You get like a pre-show before the live shows and things like that. If you do it if you're in one of the higher tiers and you do it for 6 months, you get a t-shirt and just all different things like this. It's a way to help us sort of fund ourselves, but also give you guys some exclusive stuff, and anything which is released on Patreon show-wise and content-wise will only ever be on there. So like you have to be a member to see it. We might release clips and stuff to promote it, whatever, but in terms of when it's coming back, or when it's going to be launched, guys, I would think it'll be launched once I know for sure what Andy's doing, if Andy's going to be coming back in any form and stuff like that, because until I know that, it's difficult to plan. As I've mentioned before, I've got some plans in place and things in my mind about where we're going to go, what we're going to do, who's going to be on each week, who's going to be on each month, blah, 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 what's going to be members only, etc. But it's difficult to plan if you're not sure. So once I know what's happening with Andy and stuff like that, then it'll be launched. The initial plan was, of course, because we're going to do a small live show in November and launch it around then. The plans change. We know what it's like. We know what it's like. We will be doing a live show. I will be doing a live show in some way, form, shape. Kev's in, I know that, and I know Andy will be in if he can do it. Rodri will be in, and whatnot. But it's just been pushed back. Being honest with you, I think the live show is likely to be more like January, February time, if I'm being honest. But that could change quickly. Things have changed very quickly recently in both sides. Things have happened quickly. We weren't expected to have Jay Bothroyd on. That changed quickly. We weren't expecting Andy to leave, and we were planning all these stuff, and that happened quickly. we weren't expecting Roger Giggs to have a regular slot on the channel. He's got a regular show on the channel. So things change quickly, both positive and negative. So whilst I'm in my head, I don't think it'll be a live show before Christmas. Doesn't mean there's definitely not going to be, because I've got the plan in my head and how to do it. So yeah, that's that. Get your questions in then, because I'm going to wrap up shortly. Because I do find these shows a bit more difficult because I'm sort of speaking to myself. Sorry, lads and girls. Let's have a look. Donna says we want a live show. I know, Donna. I know. It definitely will happen. 100% will happen. 110%. We will definitely do a live show. It's just the timing, the expense, etc. Blah 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 blah. But I am 40 in November, so we'll sort something out. Maybe we'll do something. We'll have a little meetup, maybe, or something. I don't know. I'm very, very antisocial. I'm very grumpy. It's hard to imagine. I know. Yeah, it is what it is. What else we got? Let's have a look. Patreon, we've done that one. Lunch breaks. Reece David says it must help that all those watching were Cardiff fans. These people loved you, so it must have made the show a lot easier rather than doing a pod for someone who supports someone else. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's easy. Look, for me, you got to remember, say 2 years ago, I was just a Cardiff fan. I still am, but I was just a Cardiff fan who was thinking of starting a podcast, and now I do all these shows with different people, Cardiff legends. I've interviewed some of my heroes. I've got their phone numbers, and I speak to them and I text them, and then some of my closest friends are Andy and Kev, who in 2000 and whatever, early 2000s, these guys were my heroes, and now they're some of my closest friends, and it's got to pinch yourself sometimes. And I think I put a post on my personal Facebook the other day saying sometimes you just got to enjoy the ride and not get caught up in what's next. The Jay Bothroyd thing. I just sat there at certain points just smiling, because I'm sat there and it's just Kevin McNaughton, Jay Bothroyd, just talking about all this behind the scenes stuff. And I'm just sat there watching with a smile on my face. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to wake up and smell the coffee and enjoy it for what it is, instead of constantly planning for the next thing. And I certainly did that for the Jay show. I really, really enjoyed it. Reece says, I was referring to the Bothroyd side about how relaxed he was on the pod. So many players won't do him, but it must have made it easier for him knowing it's a Cardiff pod. Yeah, I think he came to us was the thing as well. Jay came to us rather than me contacting him. I tweeted him before, but he came to us. He followed me and he said, I'd like to come on. And you could tell that they had a strong relationship, strong friendship back in the day. And as soon as they started chatting, they had off air, it was they said hello, and it was a bit, only for a few seconds, a bit sort of quiet because they hadn't spoken to each other for a very long time. But by the time we went live, it was booming, and the banter, and you could tell they were very, very, very close, sort of similar sense of humour. And yeah, it was good. It was great. I thought it was one of the best pods we've done. I got to be honest. I thought I really, really enjoyed it. Craig Selvin said, I've enjoyed the non-City players. I didn't listen to them originally unless I knew who it was, and then watched some of the non-City ones, and I thought they were superb. The coach in America was great. And do you know what, Craig? I think some of the best A.C. footy shows we did were with the less famous or well-known footballers. Of course, some of the more well-known people were really funny. We had, Graham Jones, I thought was phenomenal. He just went to the Euros as England's first team coach or whatever. That's mad to me, isn't it? But I thought he was really good. But some of the players who maybe not as well known, I thought was phenomenally interesting. There's been a couple who were a bit guarded for various reasons, and I understand that. Not everybody wants to put their stories in the public light and stuff. Like Jay told me straight after the show, he said, I'm going to tell the full Chopra fight story in part 2. Donna says, I think he's done amazing to get Rodri on board as well. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that was a really good. It took the sting out of Andy going to be able to bring someone of Rodri's caliber on, because he knows his stuff. He's a cool dude, and I think he does a really good job. And I would like to think that we will continue that show, because I thought actually Friday was our best show. Yeah, I thought they've got better each week, but I thought Fridays was really good with me and Rodri. And I think even if Andy comes back on Monday and Friday with the championship and the A.C.E Footy Show, I think we do Rodri on Wednesday, because I think he's that good. I'm confident. And that's the thing. What it comes down to is you've got to be. Are you happy with the content you're putting out? Are you confident in the content you're putting out? And I think that A.C.E Footy Show, I think the Championship Show, I think Super Kev Unscripted, I think Roger Gigs on Football, all those podcasts, I put them up against any football podcast in the UK. I don't care what anyone says. If you give it time, and particularly if we put all those podcasts in a studio, they'd be even better. But obviously we have to deal with technology and stuff like that. But in my opinion, I'd put those podcasts up against anything, and I'd put our MMA and boxing podcast against any MMA podcast in the world, because we have literally top level guests, and we have proper top class analysis from one of the best strategists and minds in MMA. Like Danny is regarded as one of the best coaches in the UK. Richard Shaw, the same. And all the different fighters, I put it up against anything in the world. And that's what it's about. It's about, you've got to put out what you think is good and hope that people will watch it. Do I wish more people were watching it? Yes. Do I sometimes look at other people, or other podcasts, should I say, and think, Jesus, how the hell are they getting all those views? When I just think, well, our podcast is better than that. Our interviews are better than that. But you can't get stuck in that loop of stuff. Some people have just got a bigger platform or a bigger following or whatever it may be, like obviously I'm not famous or I'm not well known or whatever you want to say, so it's different. Kelly says, could Rodri get Ryan on for a tell-all? I think that might be an awkward conversation, to be honest. Rodri is doing an episode of My Story though, for series 3. And we will address Ryan, of course, but we're going to dig into his early life and what his life was like growing up. And he was a promising footballer himself, and I'm looking forward to that and telling his story, but also looking at different aspects of it instead of just telling the same thing that he did on James English. And by the way, he was on my channel before James English. He told all about his family stuff ages ago on A.C.E Podcast Nation. Just dig it out. It's a very good show. Questions. Gaz says, you're going to do My Story 3? Yeah, I'm going to start recording that in October. My Story 3. I'm also going on traveling up to do a podcast on someone else's podcast early October, I think. We're recording that. I'm not sure when it'll be out. Obviously, that's up to them. But keep an eye out for that. Watch me. Please do make sure you watch that and comment and stuff on that, because obviously I'm going on to someone else's podcast to tell my story a little bit. So, I'm looking forward to that, being in the guest chair instead of the host chair, as it were. Craig says, I think a great show would be put together a highlight show, mixing up some of the greatest stories. Could show those who haven't watched each week what was being on. Yeah, Rod, Craig, something I want to do is make almost like an hour and a half show of all the best clips from the different shows, and really showcase the guests and stuff. It takes a lot of effort and time. So it's trying to find that and stuff. So let's have a look. Reece David Evans says, I only started the MMA fight one just to support you, mate. Since then, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Really came to respect the guys. Not that I didn't beforehand, but more so now. And I look forward to them each week. Yeah, I appreciate that. And Donna says same as well. I appreciate that. I really do, that you guys have come over from the football shows and you've supported the MMA shows, and I know you've enjoyed them too. Donna Perry, the problem with the MMA ones is not a problem, but people are very used to downloading them on the Wednesday. They're one of the most downloaded shows for us, audio-wise. People are used to them coming out on a Wednesday and downloading it, so people aren't joining us in the amount of numbers on Facebook as I would like for the MMA unboxing show, depending on who the guest is. We've got some good YouTube numbers in the live, but YouTube, there's not always people, they don't always join in the chat as much for some reason. I don't know why. Donna Perry says, I get the impression, despite what went on with Ryan and Rodri, that Rodri still loves his brother, and it's just the way. Yeah, look, and if you notice, like whenever Ryan's come up in the conversation, Rodri hasn't shied away from it. Like he speaks really highly of him as a footballer. It's just obviously come on, we know the situation. It is what it is, isn't it? It's not nice. Let's have a look. Right, last couple of minutes. If anyone's got any questions before I shoot, just a quick roll call while we're here. I like to just so I can know. But in terms of the Patreon thing, would everybody who's watching now be looking to join that in some way or fashion? Or is there some people who are on the fence? I'm just interested, no pressure. Obviously, it's a way for us to take us on to the next level and stuff like that. Donna says, yeah, Rodri never badmouths him. He praises his past. It's such a forbidden subject. Look, if you asked him about it on a show, he wouldn't shy away from it. Will says, how do you download the shows? So each show has got its own website on the Sports Social page. So if you type in, say, Super Kev Unscripted, and you type in Super Kev Unscripted Sports Social, it'll come up with the page. And then on that page, there's different ways to download it. So Spotify, I've got to reset up the Apple, so there's no Apple on there at the moment. So at the moment, for instance, Super Kev Unscripted on that website, there's Spotify, Castbox, and Google, and Spreaker as well. But I've just dropped the Super Kev website, just for instance, on there, because I've got to be honest, the thing which helps us the most is people downloading the audio or watching on YouTube, because they're the only things that get paid for. It is what it is. Let's have a look. Will says, count you in for the member section. James says, yeah. Cool. I like it. I like it a lot. I appreciate that as well. Yeah, he is, James. Let's be honest. He is not a nice guy. Lorna says, I don't watch on Sunday night as the other half goes to bed by 7:30. Got to be up at 2. Well, Lorna, or should I say Reese's mum, there's no excuse. Get in there. Ask the fighters some questions, is what I say. Reese thinks he has had his drink spiked on the weekend. It's nothing to do with a litre of whiskey he drunk. Right then, girls and boys, it's been a pleasure. And that's the same, Will, by the way, sorry, with all the shows. If you type in Keeping It Real, Sports Social, it'll bring you up the website. I believe it comes up it's the first link. You type in A.C.E Footy Show, Sports Social, which is where these shows go at the moment. It'll come up as top link on the Sports Social. It's like podcast.sportsocial.co.uk, podcast, Keeping It Real, or A.C.E Footy Show, Roger Giggs on Football, whatever it may be. They're all there. Just type in the name of the show and Sports Social into Google, and it's normally the top link. And the shows that have got those pages are Super Kev Unscripted at the moment, Super Kev Unscripted, Keeping It Real, Daddy Bat and Fight Show, Roger Giggs on Football, Championship show and the A.C.E Footy show. When my story comes out, that will have its own page, and then there'll be an A.C.E Podcast Nation page, which will have the non-sporting shows on there all together. But yeah, if you want to really help me out, guys, go and download a load of shows on the audio version. Listen to the ads, and that helps me a lot. Same with YouTube. If you're just doing something, put YouTube on in the background. Go to the YouTube channel. Go to the playlists, which are set up like there's all the football shows set up, or all the A.C.E Footy shows set up, whatever it may be. Do that and just put the playlist on. Play it all the way through while you're doing stuff. Aidan, you're being a naughty boy, mate. Right, guys, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time, your effort. It's so weird to me talking to the camera on my own, but I do it for the peeps, for my peeps. I enjoy it. It's just dodgy. Oh, there you go, Hugh Nicholas. Little bit of 8:30 panorama, dodgy football agents. Well, if Willie Mackay's not on that, I'll be very disappointed. Man deserves to be in prison. Subscribe to youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation. Download the audio versions of all the shows and more. Kelly says hi. It's time to go to bed, Aidan. It's time for me to go. See you later, people. It's my pleasure. I love you all.